Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello, and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. This episode is going to be a little bit different than anything you've ever heard before. Right now, our country is feeling really, it's heavy right now. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of movements. You know, we just got away. We're starting to unpause and go back to life related to the coronavirus, but there's been some unfortunate events that have happened and has created a movement in the Black community, which has been there forever, but now it's becoming louder, and I'm actually happy that that's happening. I'm aware that this is a nutrition podcast, and I normally talk about, lifestyle and stuff like that, but this is a cause that's really, really close to my heart, and I couldn't not use my platform as an opportunity to share with you some perspective. I am sitting here with my amazing boyfriend, who I wish you were meeting for the first time under better circumstances. But my boyfriend is African American, and he is going to be able to share kind of the other side to kind of what's going on. I'm aware that if you're listening to this, I posted some stuff on my Instagram and I already lost followers, and I'm to be honest, I'm okay with that. But if you're open to learning and you're kind of on the fence and you're trying to figure out or understand or, decide how you want to be in this situation, I think that this podcast episode is really going to help you to see, both sides, all sides. We're not going to sugarcoat things. I'm really proud of my boyfriend. He's going to introduce himself in a minute, but this is his story to tell. It's not mine, which is why I wanted to have him here personally, because it's not my job to talk about other people's stories. I can really only talk about my experiences, and I am going to share some of that as well, but first things first, I want to just have you guys meet my boyfriend. This is Bruce Barnes, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So maybe before we kind of have you kind of tell a little bit more about you, we can just kind of state the obvious. So on May 25th, 2020, George Floyd, an African-American male, was murdered by the police. And there's video on it. There's no denying it was straight murder. It's very disturbing to watch, but no matter where you're listening from this from, even if you don't live in the United States, my guess is you've heard about this. And it has caused a lot of chaos, talk, just stuff that needed to be said. And a lot of people think that all of the rioting and the protesting and the looting is coming from just, because George Floyd was murdered. But it's not just about George Floyd. It's about a history of Black people getting mistreated by the police, but also just by people in general in the United States of America when we're supposed to have equal rights. And although we have equal rights on paper, it's not how we see it day to day. So, Dave, do you want to maybe share kind of your perspective of what happened, what's happening, and maybe why the response is the response it's been recently?
So, hello, everyone. My name is Bruce Barnes. So, a little bit about me. I grew up in a poverty-stricken neighborhood, regular projects, ghetto, regular stuff. So I faced some adversities, especially with the boys in blue. Not all bad. I'm gonna say that right now. Like, we're not gonna bash police in this podcast. I have an uncle that's a retired officer. I have a stepmother that's like the head of corrections. Like I have people that I love and know that's in that field, in the law enforcement field. But I myself, like I've actually done a lot of time. So like close to like 9 years. When I was young. So I've seen injustices from all sides of the spectrum, from law enforcement with guns, cops, to COs, correction officers, like the attitude that they have, like their personas, like they are God, like literally like untouchable.
They believe like they're above the law. That's the perception that you're sharing. Yeah.
Yes.
So taking advantage and abusing their power. Not all, but some.
Not all, but majority. I'm not going to say all, but about 80%. I'm going to be completely honest, like with this situation. Let's talk about George Floyd. I think we should get that out the way right now. Let's talk about this George Floyd situation. So from where I've been at, or the things that I've seen in life, and we're going to talk about George Floyd, the video, and body language. So one thing that I don't know if a lot of people have caught this, but if you look at the video, I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, whatever, and you see the one cop on his neck, like his knee is on his neck. And while his knee is on his neck, like his shoulders are slouched and his hands are in his pocket. So one thing that I've learned from being in prison and in the streets and just having to take an aggressive standpoint sometimes is that you don't ever have your hands in your pockets when you feel threatened. You do never have your hands in your pockets when you feel you're in danger or someone might cause danger to you or those around you. So when you have to take an aggressive standpoint to defend yourself or defend anything, you're not going to have your shoulders slouched. You're going to be in attack mode. You're going to be more ready, more alert. So I think that is what really bothered me with it. It's not just them being the cold-blooded murderers that they are, but actually watching him so nonchalantly take that man's life while he cried out for his mother. And like, we're not talking about a kid, we're talking about a grown man. And George was a big boy. It's not like he was like, no, he was a big boy. We're talking about a big black man crying for his dead mother. Like, do you know what you have to do to somebody to make a man cry for his mom? Like, that's insane. And it kind of put me back to, like, situations to where I've seen, like, you see somebody talking in the hallway in Clinton or Attica or whatever the case may be, and like, you'll never see that person again. You'll never see that person again. Like, he's still getting mail to his cell. Like, they beat him up and then say he tried to attack him, and next thing you know, you got more time and broken ribs, and possibly you might even be dead. Like, I've seen literally with my own eyes. Police killed one of my close friends when I was incarcerated. He was a cell next over to me, and he was a big mouth, loud mouth guy, but a really good guy. Like, and this is another thing that I want to say too, is about, like, people incarcerated. Like, I went to prison for gun possession. Like, that was my life. Like, I was a cowboy.
And we're gonna circle back to how that happened, because you were charged when you were 16.
Yeah, I was 16.
Which is another conversation.
Which is a whole nother conversation, yeah.
So we're gonna circle back to that, but I think you're about to say a really good point, and so I don't want to cut you off, but I want you to.
So,
you're gonna say, like, not everyone is in jail is bad person.
Oh yeah, not everyone incarcerated is a bad person. I think that, growing up, we all make our mistakes. Some people get caught, some people don't make serious mistakes, and some people do make those mistakes and do not get caught. But the ones that do make those mistakes and do get caught go to jail. So I've been around killers, like real killers, that were not bad guys. It was just like the situation permitted. It's either you or me, or, hey, if I have to protect my family, then it is what it is. Like, that's human nature to defend yourself. So Drew was one of those guys, though. A great guy, though. Like, the most compassionate, loving, humble guy I've known. One of them. And he got into, like, words with one of the correction officers, and it was, like, 1 o'clock in the morning, and they opened his cell. So I can hear, like, them open his cell, because it's, like, an old cell door, and the walls are, like, sheet metal. So they open his cell, and I see literally, the cell is a 6x10. I see literally 8 officers rush into a 6x10. Drew is literally he was 5'6", 5'5", 120 pounds. 120 pounds. It took 8 grown officers. All these officers, there was not one officer that was under 200 pounds in that cell, and they beat him with those wooden sticks and stomped on that man's head with those heavy-ass boots for a whole 30 minutes. Like, a whole 30 minutes. Woke up the next morning, all his stuff was out his cell, and, like, there was, like, they didn't tell his wife anything. Like, it was just, he had assault on an officer. At 1 o'clock in the morning in a maximum security prison. How are you getting out? How are you assaulting somebody in a cell by yourself at 1 o'clock in the morning? So, and, like, that was just one of mine that I seen firsthand, and I've heard of others, and that was the one that hit the closest to home for me. And because, like, I was part of that, like, I was right there, and it's like those people are never held accountable for it. Like, I've seen correction officers that's been on a job for 30 years that have. It's a known fact that they're cold-blooded killers. Like, yo, don't even look at him wrong. Like, he will kill you. Like, they will kill you and tell your family, like, yo, you committed suicide. You hung yourself. And then they won't even give your body to your family. It's disgusting. And they really believe that they're above the law, because who are they going to answer to? I think that, like, this whole situation going on with the police and everything. And like I said, all police are not bad. I personally am not going to lie to you. Like, I do have family in law enforcement, but I do not like the police. I don't at all.
Well, and I think it's because you really, that's what all you were exposed to for most of your life, only seeing the cops that abuse their power. We know that there are police out there, and this is not an attack on the police.
Not at all.
The point is that if stuff like that is happening in prison, in a jail where there's no cameras, there's no body cams, it's just, that is definitely happening in the streets. And the only reason why we talk about things like George Floyd or other Black men and women who have been murdered by the police is because of body cams or, things that get leaked out. But there's also experiences where, people stay silent, and the point being is we don't hear about these things. The only reason why you're hearing about this now is because he's opening up about it. And to be honest, it's hard to talk about. For him to open up to me about this stuff has been really challenging. So, the fact that he's sharing it with you is a brave thing to do. But if we keep staying silent and not talking about the real issues going on, there's not going to be change. So all that to say, now when people are rioting and protesting and angry, you don't know, especially if you've never been oppressed. And when I use the word oppression is not just being treated unfairly. Oppression is a prolonged, unjust treatment for a long period of time. And if you don't, and I was talking to someone the other day who is a white woman who basically said, if that was my son who was murdered, I would have blown this house up. You think I give a crap about any of my possessions when my own son was just murdered in front of me by anyone? When you're angry, you can't control, no angry child breaks something and is like, oh, I'm so glad that I did that. Like, they don't mean it. They're just angry. This is their way that they're expressing themselves. So for one post that I put on my story the other day was like, if you've never been oppressed, you can't judge how other people respond to it. Like, everybody deals with pain differently. And what's going on in the world and all of the things that you're seeing are a way of people trying to figure out how to process their emotions. It's not anything that is, and it's also not just that, it's to get heard, because silent protests and peaceful protests have been going on for years. This has been going on for way too long. And this is just a way that people are expressing themselves and getting themselves heard. And I think that's really important, that we kind of bring that to light. And at the same time, a lot of the people doing the looting, so like smashing like those buildings and the businesses, we're not saying that anybody deserves that either. But it's also the white community is the ones that are doing most of it. So
I mean, yeah, I do want to touch on that too. I mean, the protests, like Tony was saying, I totally agree with. Like, yo, this has been happening forever. Like, honestly, like, I mean, if you just look at America, right, and just, I don't know the exact number now, but in your free time, just Google the incarceration rate. Like, we have the highest incarceration rate in the whole world. In the whole world. It's insane. Our country. So, with that being said, the protesting and the looting, I totally kind of forgot my point, but the protesting, yes, like Tony said, like, it's been going on for the longest, and they've, like, just been killing. Like, I forgot the other guy's name that was jogging, but that was, like, a week before George Floyd, and then before him, it was the Bell.
Ahmaud Arbery, which also here, that's actually a good point. So Ahmaud Arbery was gunned by two white people, a father and son. It wasn't by the police.
Wow.
But that's also just to show that those who claim that racism doesn't exist, like, you're living in a gutter. Like, your head is in a gutter. Like, because they'll also too, like, and that's part of white privilege. And I know a lot of people, this is what I turn people off when I talked about on my story. But if you're denying the fact that you have white privilege, you've never been exposed to the Black community at all. I shared this as well, and I'm going to share it here on this platform because maybe you don't follow me on social media. But I mean, I've been in interracial relationships since I was 18 years old. And I learned then that, you know, that people don't treat you the same. Family members, friends, you know, they'll say that they're not racist, but if you're going to date my daughter or anything, then it's a whole other story. So all that to say that I've had many different experiences being with my boyfriends of color and watching how they're treated differently, how we're treated differently, how heads are turned, all these different things. And I expressed one scenario of many that I've experienced, and I can't even imagine how they've experienced, because to be honest, I think because I am white, being in their presence is protecting them a lot of times for their mistreatment that if I wasn't there. But I'll just share this story with you. This was 2014, which is another thing that bothers me, where people say racism doesn't exist. It's 2020, and yet this stuff is still happening. 2014 on Long Island, New York, where you would consider that a little bit more progressive. So, you know, you think of the Midwest and you think of the South, or maybe like upstate New York, and like, you know, those are places where you are like, okay, I can see that happening where there's racism, you know, experiences. But this was on Long Island, New York, in a diner where I went with my boyfriend at the time, and we were just simply going to sit down to have breakfast. We sit down, all of a sudden I look in the corner of my eye, and there's this like a white biker dude with his daughter and the daughter's baby. So think about like a mid-40 white biker dude, with like the leather jacket. He looks tough, he's tatted up, and he's sitting with his daughter, who must have probably been like 30 years old, with like her toddler at her side, and all of a sudden starts making a scene. And is like saying, this is disgusting. I can't eat here. I can't watch this. Like, look at that. I can't sit here. He gets up. Everybody's watching, by the way. In the diner. So the staff is watching. The other customers are watching. And me and my boyfriend at the time are just kind of sitting there, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at the fear in his eyes. So nobody talks about that. That fear, that what is this guy about to do to me in front of everyone, and potentially get away with it because everybody else in that restaurant was white. He gets up, he goes outside, he stays by the window and looks in, is watching us. So we obviously can't even enjoy our meal. And I asked my boyfriend if he wants to go outside and leave. And he's like, no, I don't want to go outside because I don't know if this guy's going to start something with us. And if he does, who's going to be the one that gets in trouble when the police come? Not the white biker dude. my boyfriend, because he's colored, it's going to be a thing that he's the one who somehow started it, or this guy's going to get off like it's no big deal. So that is just a glimpse of what that feeling that I felt watching everybody watch, and we did nothing. We literally were just sitting, and he just couldn't stand the fact of looking at someone, an interracial couple, and that's what started that. And that's what just happened to Ahmed back in, a couple weeks ago. He was running.
Yeah, he was going for a jog. You know how many times I run? Like, I haven't been running lately, but, like, there's been times where, like, I will run, and I will run through, like, neighborhoods, and it's like, yo, that's actually a thought. It's actually a thought, like, yo, when I see a cop car and I'm in, like, a nice neighborhood, and it's, like, $1 million homes and stuff like that, it's like, yo, cops actually look at me like, yo, what are you doing out here? And it's like I'm running with my shirt off, but it's like you're driving 10 miles per hour. I'm out here sweating, like, and you're looking at me like I'm about to run into somebody's house. So, like, that is a fearful thing. And then, like, to have that happen, and it's not even by the police, but, like, to even, like, to say, like, I mean, this is the first interracial relationship I've been in. So, like, I haven't ever really experienced that. I mean, growing up, my mother always did tell me, like, she always did tell me, like, not to bring a white girl home. So I'm not going to say, like, the racism is on one side. There is on both sides.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I do get, it is flag in my family for, like, dating white women or, the standard, because it's like, white people don't want their kids dating black people. It's just, it's not a thing that mixes. And I don't really understand, because at the end of the day, whether white, blacks, Hispanic, Asian, like, we're all human. Like, we all can create with each other and create something equal. So we're all the same.
We're diverse and beautiful.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to be the same, but we are human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It creates the same creature. But also, too, like, I believe that going back to the protesting and the looting, I do want to say this. Like, protesting is good. Like, it does get stuff done. The looting, I'm gonna be completely honest. It's like I don't care. Like, as long as it's not our community, it doesn't make sense. But, like, to loot our own community. But when you go and you loot Louis Vuitton or Apple or Target or Walmart, I don't care, because they can afford that. They have insurance. Like, those are $1 billion companies. I care less about that. But the mom and pops in our communities, that's like, this is the way that they provide for their family, how they keep their roof over their head. Like, no, I'm not with that. That doesn't make any sense. But also talking about our communities too. Me and Tony, before we started the podcast this morning, I asked her how many liquor stores is in her neighborhood. There's 2. So I said, like, yo, from where I live, there is literally 4 liquor stores on one block. And it's just like the vices. And if someone wants to go drink, they're going to go drink. But just, like, putting all of that to where it's predominantly minorities. There's not 4 health and spa spots or juice spots. Now there's starting to be more health things, but it's all things to, like, impair your mind and just, like, tear down your body. And I believe that, yes, the government, the foundation, the cornerstone of America was built on slavery. Like, we haven't been able to vote for 100 years. Like, that's 100 year. Like, this is for, excuse me, we've only been able to vote since, or excuse me, no, it's the 60s, right?
Not 100 years.
No, but I'm saying we haven't been able to vote for
400 plus years.
Yeah, like, we've only been able to vote for 100 years. I'm saying,
yeah,
like, look at where we come from in 100 years, and it's like we've just came out of slavery. Like, this is
no, that is true too. Like, as progressive as things appear to be in the justice system, meaning not what's actually happening, but just like you can vote and I can vote. That's it. Like we're different colors, we could both vote. That's relatively new. So even though the rules have changed, like people, the way they've grown up, like racism is taught. It's not something that we are born with. I posted this most adorable picture. And it was so cute and so true. Like when people are young, like even if they see color, they don't treat that other person differently. They don't think twice about it. But it's something that's been taught and it's been learned. And so it can be unlearned. And that's what I hope that we're inspiring you to do, is to really kind of question, the way that people are treated, or comments that you hear, or, looking past someone just because of their color or their skin, like giving them a chance to get to know them or something like that. But all that to say, like, it's pretty new, I would say, that people actually are legally being treated the same. And so it's going to take a while for the mindset of those who've been maybe raised by prejudiced people or have been exposed to racism to really see why that's not correct or why that's not right. So it is going to take time. So we're just hoping that this kind of helps you to kind of see that, and to really just kind of challenge people and try not, if you are a white person, you do have a responsibility to speak up. I know it's uncomfortable, and I know it's weird, but the fact that we just talked about, like, if you've never gone for the thing that I worry about when I go for a run is I hate when guys whistle at me. Literally, that's what I worry about. Yeah.
Seriously?
I mean, not in this neighborhood. This is like a family town, but like in the past, like that's the thing. Or not, no, but people do. They'll like the cars that drive by and stuff, and like that bothers me. That annoys me. But like that's what I'm most fearful of. I'm not afraid of like a cop pulling me over while I'm running. That's not what I'm thinking about. Or like at night, I won't jog at night because I feel like, it's dark and it's scary and like you never know if someone's going to take you or rape you. Like it's serious. Like that's the things that I think about. And when I'm driving a car, I'm thinking about like, oh, I don't hope this police officer doesn't give me a ticket. Like I'm not thinking about I'm not in fear for my life. And those are things that we take advantage of. So all this to say, I do feel like it's necessary to just comment on, like I titled this podcast Black Lives Matter, and I think we need to address like what that actually means. So Black Lives Matter is not saying that all lives don't matter. Black Lives Matter is not saying that you don't matter if you're not black. Black Lives Matter is basically stating that Black Lives Matter and all lives matter if and when Black Lives Matter. So that being that right now, blacks are not being treated like they matter. What did you tell me the other day, Michael Vick?
Oh, yeah. I seen something on Instagram and they said that 490, Michael Vick did more time for fighting dogs than 493 police officers combined did time for murders.
That's crazy. So, yeah.
Michael Vick only did, 2 years? Or maybe 6 months. He didn't do a lot of time.
And that was still, he didn't do that much time, and that was still less than all of the police officers.
That's 400
Because that's another thing, too. A lot of police officers are murdering black men, and they're losing their jobs and their pensions, but they're not being charged. This situation with George Floyd, he's getting charged for murder, and possibly the other officers that were watching. And so a lot of pushbacks I get is they're being charged. Why is this such a big deal? Well, it's because that's the one that you're hearing about. And that's the fact that it's had to get to this point for you to actually listen. So that's why it's so frustrating.
Had to go through just for him to get charged.
And that's insane. And even going back to the beginning, the way Bruce described his body language, a cop is only supposed to shoot if they feel threatened. This man was on his belly for 8 minutes. He couldn't breathe, and his hands were behind his back, and this man had his hands in his pocket just chilling on this guy's neck as if nothing was happening. You're clearly not threatened. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I think that video is totally disgusting. I mean, but honestly, if you think about it, there's literally always police killing a black. There's always a young black man dying. And we kill ourselves. Yes, I am not going to sit here and say that we don't. It's never black. I've been a product of black-on-black violence. I've committed black-on-black violence. I'm not going to lie to y'all. or I was a gangster. Like, I'm all the way with it. So, like, I do understand the black-on-black violence, but if your job, that's not my job. It is my job to protect and serve my community. But I don't get paid for it. I don't take an oath for it. Mm-hmm. So when I take an oath to protect and I get a gun and it's me that holds this, it's my job to police this area the right way and make sure no crime, everything is honorable and fair. So if that is my job, then why is every month, police is killing a black man? Mm-hmm. And it's literally probably every day. I really don't even notice that. So I'm sitting here lying to. So it's like,
we don't know this. We should probably look it up. But the point is that it's too often. Like, how many times have you heard that a white man was killed by the police?
Look at the white terrorists. I'm gonna call them terrorists because the one kid that killed like 23 people last year.
Yeah. So there was there's a lot of talk now about like even the kids. So there's kids that, and this is a good segue because I do want to talk about the way that you grew up. So there's kids that are upset, angry, frustrated, have been bullied. For like, a few months or even a couple years at school, right? And they go and they shoot innocent children because they were bullied. Obviously, they're not, and that kind of goes going back to my original point with the anger. When you're throwing things, when you're yelling, when you're creating fires, when you're doing all this stuff, you're angry. It's not towards the person. So yeah, you might be doing it to a New York City police officer, but meanwhile the thing happened in Minnesota. But the point is that that police officer in New York doesn't deserve to be treated the way for somebody else's crime. But at the same time, that person's just angry. So that kid that's been bullied for years, that goes into a school and shoots other children that were probably not even the ones that actually bullied him. That's not fair. That's screwed up. And if I could curse on this podcast, I try not to, but I would use the F word. Like, it really makes me angry.
I would use the F word.
It really makes me angry. And the fact is like those kids, and it's because they're kids, I guess they're understood, or they're not, I don't even know, like, it's wrong, but they're not treated the same way. Meanwhile, Bruce, I want you to share about when you were, getting in trouble at 16 years old, which I think, and I'll also share a little bit of my perspective with, I've mentioned this before, guys, like my sister who did all of the bad things. She was always in trouble with the law. She was always in trouble with my parents. She was always in trouble with the school. She was an unhappy soul that was lost and did really, really, really bad things. But because she was a white girl growing up in a nice town with two white parents, we saved her a lot. But unfortunately, when you grow up in the projects, when maybe you're not fortunate to have both parents at home, you don't have money, you don't get the same fair chance. So with that being said, I think it's important for you to share kind of where this all started for you and how you ended up even in prison in the first place compared to the other people that were up for doing time and what they got.
Like the beginnings.
I mean, however you want to share it, but I think, even just earlier when you were sharing about, how you were 16 and you were facing all of this time, and then someone who was.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't want to share. I don't want to share your story.
So when I was young, I initially got caught. So I went to prison at 16 for bringing a loaded gun to school. Which
is also, you're 16, which is, I didn't even know that minors, I thought you go to like juvie at 16.
No, you go to jail. But
here's the thing, I'm sure that if you were white and you had like my parents with money, you probably would have done like some community service.
No, it was a loaded gun in the school. I would have still went to jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a loaded gun in the school. I would have still went to jail on that one. Probably not got.
But your intention wasn't to kill anyone in the school.
My intention was I had enemies that went to, like, I just had a shootout.
You were just trying to protect. You were trying to protect.
So, like I said, like, I was in the streets, so I'm not going to sit here and lie and, like, I wasn't going to shoot anybody that I wasn't going to shoot to school. I always brought my gun with me to school. I was bringing my gun with me to school since I was, like, 14. It was just what we did. It was a life. But just that day, I ended up getting caught up. So either way, like I always take full responsibility for my actions. But I went to prison and I ended up doing 3 years. So you go through like Rikers Island or the county, and then you go to downstate or like Ulster, and that's like the reception area. So you get like your identification number, and then they send you to whatever prison you're gonna go to. So while in that area, they have all the classifications mixed. You got your maximum classification, medium, and then you got your minimum. It depends on like your time and your threat level. So while in this little reception area, you're probably in that for probably like a month or two, and we all go to like chow together. We're all mixed, like I said. So I'm in there with this one fat white kid, right? And we're all sitting at the table, and we're all going around like what we're in jail for, where we're from. And so I get to him, and I'm like, yo, because I've been wondering. I'm like, yo, what are you in here for? I'm thinking like maybe he's a hacker, maybe he's not. What I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. So it's like he looks like Kirby, like a skinhead Kirby, right? So he's like, he was like 27. He was like, I forgot how he put it, but basically he was touching little boys, and he was in prison for 1 to 3 years, and it was for a probation violation. It wasn't even for like the actual act. It wasn't like for the actual act, he got probation. But then for doing it again, he got a probation violation, and that's what warranted the 1 to 3 years. So it's not even like they gave him a whole new charge. So mind you, he's touching a 4-year-old boy.
Oh my God.
A 4-year, and here it is. Like I just got a gun. I just have a gun. I didn't get caught for shooting. I only got charged for having a gun. Mm-hmm. Like in my paperwork, it's only possession of a loaded firearm. And here it is. I get 3 years. And this 27-year-old man. At 16, this 27-year-old man is on probation for touching the same little boy. This same little boy. And then they found out it was other little boys. So with that being said, I'm not gonna lie. It's still to this day, like there's certain people that I don't have sympathy for. So we beat him up and got him out the house. And while I actually was beating him up, like I felt anger. And it might sound messed up, but I felt anger for getting more time for doing something. And maybe it like a gun is a gun. And I had it in the school zone, but I feel like, pedophilia, like that is the worst crime you can commit. Like that is the worst crime you can commit. Like I honestly feel like that warrants the death sentence. And I feel like that is one of the lightest taken things that you can go to jail for. Like it's horrible, but it's like if you get caught with a bag of crack, you get in trouble. You get in more trouble for 3 grams of crack than you would for having sex with a 6-year-old. How insane is that? How insane is that?
Well, even so many people that are in jail right now are for like carrying weed, which is like with the intent to sell, which is illegal in New York, but it's legal in California. It's legal in all these places. And so I'm not saying that that's justified, but I'm just saying like marijuana is starting to show like that it's not, and this is like a whole other conversation, but there's even people like it has medical purposes. I don't think anybody should use drugs recreationally at all. All I'm saying is that I know more people that have got into drunken driving accidents, which is a legal substance, than from doing something because they were high from smoking weed. And like I said, I don't want to go off topic, but the point being is that a lot of people that are incarcerated are there for something like selling marijuana and getting more time than someone for, touching a child, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane.
And then you wonder if it's because of the color of their skin or because they just don't have money for someone to represent them. But either way, it's just not right. It's just not right at all.
But also too, like I wanna say on that too, like if you look at the laws, like the laws are, and this is honest, like you can feel how you want to feel, but the laws are designed to keep minorities in prison. Like as as doing my time, and I just recently got off of parole. I'm 30 years old. Like, yo, I just recently got off of parole in March. And as, like, actually going through it and, like, making that mistake when I'm 16 and coming home when I'm 19, and it's like, yo, now I have to get a job, and it's like, no one is going to hire me. Like, I barely have a GED, and I have a violent felony. So I'm only 19 years old. So it's just like, it's only one type of job I can do. And it's like, when you're out of touch, like it's a lot of variables that play into the situation. But like I was saying, I feel like the laws are designed to keep minorities in prison because we are the ones that's selling crack. Like the crack laws are crazy. Like they're just now starting to turn those laws around, and people are getting home. Like I met one guy that was in jail for an ounce of crack, like literally $900. Mm-hmm. You had 15 years for $900. Like, granted, it's not a good thing to do.
It's not. Well, yeah, I think we just have to clear that up. And you know, I've lost a best friend to suicide, but it was a heroin overdose. And so when it comes to, you know, people who deal drugs, it's really something it bothers me because they think it's money. They think it's providing for their family. They don't realize they're destroying somebody else's life. So there's nothing. It's not right. So we're not saying that at all. It's just like the fact that, you know, selling drugs or having drugs on you is more time than murder or a pedophile or anything that's just, or rape. Like sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. And I think that's the issue. And it's also like just like a first offense versus second offense versus like who's representing you versus how much money do you have. And so like kind of going back to originally when you were saying that even if it was a white guy, if it was a white person at 16 years old with a loaded gun in a school, they wouldn't have gotten time like you. I disagree. I really do. I know the town that I grew up in with people with lots of money, and they would have played something about, and even if it was true that my kid was depressed or blah, blah, blah. And, you know, people with money keep other people quiet. And I genuinely think that kid would have had to change schools or would have had to done a lot of community service or, you know, been checked before going into places or something like that. I don't think they would have done time. I really, really, really believe that because I also know what my parents had helped getting my sister out of. And it's nothing like that, but it's just things that, you know, if you are white, you get more chances.
I do believe that.
You get a lot more chances.
I do believe that.
You get a lot more chances, and I think that's the issue here. But anyways, I want to kind of go back to the original purpose of this podcast was really just to help you guys see kind of, you know, what the media is telling you versus like what real we like experience personally. And then also to maybe the other sides, like when it comes to protesting, to looting and rioting, you know, those loud riots actually get you to listen to those people peacefully protesting. And unfortunately, those who protest quietly, they don't get heard until someone else makes a big thing about it. So it's all helpful if you look back in history. This is how this is how change is created.
Oh, let me cut you off. I'm so sorry for 1 second.
No, it's fine.
So, like how you were talking about the riots and the peaceful protesting, like there honestly hasn't really even been riots. It's just been like looting. There's not like a watch riot to where it's like it's really, really going down. But even with the peaceful protesting, like I don't know if you guys are on Instagram or Facebook or social media, and it's like if you see these videos of like in Minnesota, it's a convoy of police cars, and the last cop car, uniform, was it? I think it was a uniform or undercover. I don't know. But no, it was uniform. And he takes the mace out, and while he's driving through a crowd, he's spraying the mace. Like you see a big mist of mace spraying the crowd. Then you have the one where a CNN reporter is live reporting, and they come and arrest this man. They come and they walk right by 4 white officers and come arrest this man. He was like Hispanic and black or something like that. And then it's just like
they arrested the reporter or someone
they arrested the man, the reporter on CNN as he's reporting. I forgot his name. I don't watch the news. But
well, and then that's where it's like, are we really allowed to say anything? Like, that's no, because people are getting put in jail for speaking up.
But just look at their behavior at the peaceful protests. Like, they're shooting people in the face with rubber bullets. A rubber bullet is literally the size of that can. Like, it's a little thinner, but it's tall, and it's probably it's a rubber bullet is like a half a banana. Like, a rubber bullet is a bullet. It's just rubber. It's not gonna penetrate you, but
it'll probably bruise you and hurt.
It will break your bones. Like,
really?
If you get hit in the ribs with a rubber bullet, it will break your ribs. Yes.
That's crazy.
In the wrong spot, a rubber bullet can kill you. Like, if you get hit in the temple with a rubber, you'll die. Yeah. It's a bullet. It's just rubber. But like, they're shooting rubber bullets off to, like, they're literally like, it's like a we don't give.
Yeah.
If I can say the F word, I would say it.
All right. Well, I think the point is that, this is, something that we need to have the conversation. So, I know I'm taking a big risk by putting this out there. I really try to just, I'm not an expert in this field. I will continuously tell you that. I'm really big on, I don't like people kind of commenting or sharing if they're, they don't really have the knowledge behind it. But like I said, I have the personal experience, so I'm just sharing that with you. Bruce, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for giving me the platform to share my story.
It feels good. Doesn't it feel good to, like, tell people, like, just to talk about things that are, like, important to you that you've been dealing with?
It does feel good to give you a perspective or, like, a glimpse into the world of, like, an average. I consider myself an average guy now, but I really am. Like, I mean, to know me is to know me, but it does feel good to put you in perspective and let you get a glimpse into my world and just, things that I've been through. Like, I'm not perfect. So I don't believe anyone is perfect.
No.
So, but just to open up and have people see, like, what goes on with these police, like, how they treat us. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's insane. Like, I really feel for my life. I really am. I'm not going to say I'm afraid of the police, because I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I will defend myself. Like, I've always said that. Like, if I feel like if it's life and death, then yes, I will defend myself, and I will defend those that I love, and I will not walk by a George Floyd. I've always said that to myself. Like, I'm not with it. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, we're gonna riot that day. I'm not watching. I'm not recording. No. Yeah. So, and that is what needs to happen. And I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, the rioting and the looting, it's what's right now. But we need to stand up, and we standing up right now. So if you don't stand up with us, then your mind is still closed off, because at the end of the day, we're human, and you don't really believe in equal rights and equality. I mean, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I know my daughter is gonna grow to love whomever she wants to love. And honestly, really, truthfully, I don't care if she grows up and she wants to marry a white woman. I don't care. As long as that white girl treat her good, I couldn't care less. If she wants to grow up and marry a white guy, or Asian guy, I don't care. And I thought I would never hear myself say that, but I really don't care. Like, as long as they treat her good, and that's why I say, this is gonna sound messed up. I'm only racist when I'm driving.
Maybe we'll delete that out.
But if you drive, you understand what I'm saying. But all jokes aside, like, I have friends of all ethnicities. I have friends, that's Asian. I have friends that's Spanish, friends that's white, black, Italian, African. And everyone has their quirks and, with their culture and everything like that. But I don't look at anyone as if they're less than me. I look at myself in a high standard. Like, I have self-esteem and I have confidence, but I don't look at, this 4-foot Asian dude it's disgusting. I don't want him dating my daughter. No, if that 4-foot Asian dude is taking care of my daughter and loving her the way she needs to be loved, I love that 4-foot. Do you got a PlayStation? Yeah, I'm with it. Like, I'm all the way with it. So I just, like, now is the time for equality. And, like, to be completely honest, through my 30 years of living, I've understood that only violence respects violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, people, we gonna stand up, and it needs to happen for a change. Because if we don't, it's like a bully. If you go to school and a bully keep punching you in your face every single day, you gonna keep allowing that? Nah, you ain't about to punch me in my face at all, champ. You gotta stand up for yourself. So don't be mad, don't be upset when we standing up for ourselves.
Yeah. Amen. That's very true. That's exactly that. That's a great way to wrap up the podcast. But before that, though, I do want to give you guys just a couple things that if you want to support in some way, you're not quite sure how. There's definitely accounts you can follow on Instagram, like Black Lives Matter, Color of Change, showing up for racial justice, civil rights org. There's petitions you can sign. So change.org is something that I've just recently I get emails from them, kind of just seeing what's going on in the world and how I can contribute. So you can just sign petitions or you can donate money. But there's petitions currently on change.org for the justice of George Floyd, for justice for Breonna Taylor, which is a Black woman who was murdered by the police, and because her it's a whole other story.
Crazy one.
We don't have time to get into it, but this is the point. Like, these are just the ones that we're hearing about, and it's just ridiculous that we can have a list of different names that you need to sign petitions for. There's numbers to call, so if you want to call the DA, Mike Freeman, in Minnesota, and demand prosecution to the two police officers with their badge numbers. You can do that. Call 612-348-5550, 612-348-5550 to get prosecution for Derek Chauvin, badge number 1087, and Tao Thao. I can't say, I'm really bad with names. Sorry, I've mispronounced many names today. And badge number 7162.
Also, the other is 2 other officers. It was 4 officers.
Right, but so for whatever reason, I guess right now there's trying to get prosecution for 2. I mean,
we need all.
We need all 4. Yeah, I just don't have those names and badge numbers with me. But also, too, the other things you can do just to support the people of color in your community, you can just honestly just check on your friends. Like, if you have a Black friend, ask how they're doing. This is hard. Think about the guilt and obsession. Like, the white community, we are feeling, and when I say, I know there's so many other races, so I don't want to make it sound like this is Black versus white and no other minorities matter. I'm just saying that white privilege is a real thing, and I know that what you're feeling right now is like, I should have woke up sooner. I have all this power, I'm not doing anything with it. A lot of guilt, just sadness of watching what's going on with the world, especially after we just came out. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. Like, it's been an emotional year. So I know how hard that is, but just think about what your Black friends are feeling right now. Like, they're literally watching people in their community get targeted and trying to speak up for themselves, and they're just tired. They're just straight up tired. So if you're feeling emotional, just imagine how they're feeling. So check on them. Make sure that they're okay. And ask if there's anything that you can do to help. Some small thing you can do is just support small businesses that you know are Black owned. So actually, someone told me about a Black owned business that sells they're like affirmation ABC cards. I wish I had the site on me, but it was super cute. So now I got it for Bruce's daughter, Amira. She's 4, and I ordered it knowing that I'm supporting a Black company, but also that I'm going to be teaching a 4-year-old about how to be confident and grow up strong and feeling beautiful, and also learning her ABCs, because they're like ABC cards, and I think it's really cute. So like, find things that you can do there. And then just like also check people if they say racist comments, if they make jokes, just be like, that's kind of racist, or like, what did you mean by that? And try to speak up. You're going to get backlash for some people, and that's okay. But you have to at least know that you tried.
Stand up for what is right. Like, don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in. Like, if you feel it in your heart, then do it. If you don't, then don't do it.
Right. And I will say, the worst decision is no decision. So that kind of staying in that place of, I'm going to quote unquote keep the peace. Like, no, silence is making everything worse. Like, you need to speak up when it matters. And then last thing, and I'm going to be really honest, guys, like, this is something I didn't do for a long time, even though I had the right to, register to vote. Seriously, register to vote and educate yourself about the leaders. And like, I've always kind of been like, I'm not really into politics. Like, I don't think it even matters. It matters. It definitely matters. So educate yourself, register to vote, and make sure that you're doing your job as an American citizen, to help support those that, don't feel like they're being properly represented. All right. So that's it, babe. Is there anything that you want to add?
No, thank you for listening to me ramble. Appreciate your time.
Good. So we're going to have you back on another time, I think, for many reasons. So one, I definitely want you to come back and just kind of talk about, you kind of shared your journey, but you also, jail is also supposed to be a place where you are supposed to like work on yourself and come out a better person, although a lot of people kind of treat it as like, once you're there, you have no opportunities when you get out. But you have made it, as challenging as it was for you, you've made it productive, where now you're out and you're a personal trainer, and you've kind of found kind of your passion and doing what you love, and you're trying to make something of yourself. And I think that from everything that you've shared with me, your experiences there, it takes a really, really strong person to be able to come up against all of that just turmoil and come out with, like, honestly, guys, I will tell you, like, Bruce has always been honest with me from the beginning. When we first started dating, like, I've always known everything. So he's never lied to me. At the same time, when I met him, we've been together for almost 2 years, right? So like about almost 2 years ago when I met him, even though he told me all of these things, I couldn't see it in you. Like, it's like I was talking to a different person, because you're not someone who, you don't show your anger. You are a kind, sweet soul. So the time, it's just, I think the point I'm trying to make is that if you take your struggles and your adversities and you use them in a way to make you better, you can actually come out stronger. And I want you to maybe share kind of how you even got through some of those really dark times. So we'll have to have you back for that. And then also a more lighter conversation. Maybe you can help people get some training in. You can just talk about like personal training things and working out, and can go a little lighter with it. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. If you have someone who you feel would be open to listening to this, definitely share it to them. Or maybe you're not sure if they'd be open to or not. Let them make that decision. Definitely share this episode with them. I would be interested to hear your feedback. Just know that if you took this negatively and you attacked me, probably not going to respond nicely.
I'm probably going to respond personally.
I mean, you're welcome to share, because it's a free, you're free to share whatever. But I will just say I've gotten some hate messages, and I'm open to having a healthy conversation. But if you're just going to attack me, then there's no conversation to be had.
I'm also open to having an open conversation, and I'm not going for any attacks. And I'm not going for any attacks on Tony either.
So, thanks, babe. So where, if people want to maybe message you or chat with you a little bit, where could they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Bills_Brawley, or you can email me at brucebarnes89@icloud.com.
Perfect. All right, so I'll put that in the show notes. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I love you.
Well, you take that.
All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.